All right, Cardinal fans, welcome back to the Red Rain Podcast. Episode 194 is on the way right now. So please, once again, welcome in your host, the one, the only, Walter Mitchell.
Thank you from the one and only Kyle Little Rock Ledbetter, sporting a Detroit Tigers hat. Boy, the Tigers are coming on. Let's hope we can get things right for the Cardinals so we can make a run. We have plans ahead of us. Tonight we're going to feature, once we do the plays and analyze the plays, we're going to feature Sam's off-season plan and then Kyle's off-season plan. And, we're looking ahead. But for now, we're looking at what happened yesterday. So we're going to roll through the plays and discuss them in tidy fashion, the top plays. It's going to start with the ATN run, which was 50 yards. I mean, the Jaguars go, 96 yards, 94 yards in 4 plays to open the game once they got their first possession. Now, Kyle Little Rock knows I was a huge ATN fan. Juan was mocking him to the Cardinals back in the day. This run does not surprise me from him. But what disappoints me is look at these two edge players get sucked to the outside, leaving an enormous hole. And fortunately, for whatever reason, Cody Simon, who's starting out kind of slowly in games and then getting better as he goes along, does not fill where the obvious hole was and gets stuck in traffic and really doesn't make a read. That hurts, but it hurt that we got blocked off with 2 defenders, one not staying home. Steve Wilkes used to call it gap integrity, and that's exactly what it is. Because there's no gap integrity on this play. Look at 65 blocking out our defensive tackle. I don't know what he is doing on that play. They've sealed the edge with 70 and off to the races. Garrett Williams tries to make a play there and it was unsuccessful, and credit Denzel Burke for chasing the play. Now, what Williams is able to do is make the running back turn back into where the help from behind is coming. And Denzel Burke makes a good chase tackle. But early in games, the Cardinals are, digging themselves holes. And fortunately, let's go to the next play. And here's the touchdown. So that is really unfortunate. I mean, this has been my worry all year. You guys know it. I've been saying it every week. Teams are picking on our inside linebackers. You just know how prepared the other team is coming in, knowing how to do this. And, take this. I mean,
with some nice eye candy by Liam Cohen, that misdirection.
Yep.
You totally confused them. And again, same with the 50-yard run by Etienne.
Right.
Poor tackling angles.
Right. And I mean, Akeem-Davis Gaether on that play, on the swing, simple swing pass goes for an easy TD. But, we got a single linebacker in the middle, Akeem-Davis Gaether, who has to be keying on ATN. But he gets, like Sam said, he gets kind of held up a little bit trying to diagnose the play. This is often what happens when you're in a position where you have to defend the run first and then the pass. And if you sell out on either one of them, usually it's tough. And in this case, Akeem-Davis Gaether got kind of stuck in cement, and then by the time he tried to recover, it was way too late. And Liam Cohen knew what he was doing, picking on our linebackers like the other teams have been doing in past weeks. So, but unlike the other 2 weeks, we had an answer in the form of this beautiful piece of poetry right here. So JT off the edge, like a man possessed, getting the strip. And whether it was a fumble or a interception doesn't matter. What a just tremendous play Walter Nolan makes on this highly aware deflection that came right towards him, and he one-hands it. It's just awesome. This kid's an athlete.
Absolutely.
And wow, just a few games into his pro career, he's already got a touchdown.
Might be the defensive play of the year, just because it's our highly picked, highly drafted rookie.
Yes, and I think tone-wise, this helped keep the Cardinals in the game.
No question.
And may have prevented them from, getting down in a 14-0 hole. And from this point on in the first half, the Cardinals really dominated the play. What's next up?
Next up, we have ourselves nice little Bam Knight score on the ensuing drive from the Cardinals.
So great answer drive. This play is the Cardinals are blocking really well. That's fantastic. Look at Gaines in there with a cross block, pulling Evan Brown. Excellent block there. The tight end that we've brought in to be the new blocker, who's been penalty prone. He almost got called on this again. I mean, he's got sort of grabbing the jersey there. I don't know why he does that. He's just got to sustain and then, boom, get your hands out of there. See how he's grabbing?
I think it's Pharaoh Brown, right?
Yeah, it's Pharaoh Brown. And he's a physical guy. I think he can be a great contributor. It's just that, technique-wise, he's got to get better.
Wouldn't you think they worked with him all week after he killed that drive last week for the same thing?
Right. Yep. Now, the other thing is, you want on a play like that, you'd like to get him to shift his feet to kind of try to pin the defender inside and wall him off instead of just straight and square up. I mean, the defender does a great job of keeping his outside arm free, and this is the arm that he is pulling on, and so we got away with that.
Which, yeah, you can see it right here.
Right
putting
here.
your
there's absolutely, your tug right. He's already gone by him. Absolutely unnecessary. So I don't want to.
Even if you're going up against the Josh Hines Allen, one of the best edge rushers in the league, he's still gotta. Maybe that's a matchup issue, but you still got to make sure on that to just let it go.
Right. So great blocks by Gaines, Froholt, Evan Brown. The whole thing held up great. Good down block by Paris Johnson Jr. And the Cardinals have been successful on this play. It's really working well. And they go back to the well, and Anthony Campanile, the really I think is a promising young defensive coordinator. I thought he was a big difference in this game with a lot of his exotic blitzes and with his decision to go sticky coverage for 3/4 of the game, which is something they don't tend to like to do because they like their zones and pin their ears back on their pass rush. But credit Campanile for really making the adjustments. And he's a Boston College guy. He was a defensive coordinator at BC and did a really good job there. So I kind of know him a little bit, but kudos to him. But on this play, they did not have the answer. And the Cardinals cashed in. And now we have a lead that we sustained throughout the first half. And unfortunately, missed a chip shot field goal that would have put us up by 10. By 7. It would have been 17-7 at halftime. What would it have been? Wait a minute. They had 10,
I think
right? It would have been
17-10.
Yeah, 17-10 instead of 14-10. And that was uncharacteristic of Chad Ryland. But as we will see, our special teams are just costing us badly. Now, here's just one point before we go to this opening drive play for the Jaguars. So in the first half, we kick off to them. Let's see. I think 3 times. No, twice, because they had the opening. Twice. And on both occasions, they have Ryland kick the ball through the end zone. And I'm saying to myself, that's good, because the Jaguars returners are freaking amazing. So, and then we come out in the second half with the second half kickoff, and we pooch it down there.
Yeah.
Why? And they get like a 50-yard return. This is the kind of stuff that drives me nuts about the way the Cardinals are coached. Like, they're arguing with success. These kickoffs are like crazy. And that was such a gift. Oh man, it drives me nuts. So Jaguars start in premier field position. They drive down here. But again, fortunately, we get a great tip by Calais Campbell and a really, really aware interception by Garrett Williams. Boom. Huge red zone turnover. Huge. Boom. Now, this is what you do when if you're not getting to the passer, you're getting your hands up. You know, a savvy veteran like Calais knows this, made the key play, and now we're still have our lead preserved despite missing the field goal. We're in pretty good shape. Although, you know, I think our first drive of the second half was not good. I think it was 3 and out, and that hurt. So we punted the ball back. What's the next play?
Well, funny enough, it is that punt return that you were just about to mention from the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, now comes the punt return. This kid crushed us all day. Absolutely crushed us. I would say he was the MVP of the game. Parker Washington. Who'd ever heard of him? I mean, football people like us, we're well aware of him. He's had a spectacular season for them as a role player, as a return man. This is nothing new. This is something you have to scout out and know in advance. And we have a brand new punter, Hawk, who, I thought distance-wise he was good. I would have liked to have seen the ball up higher.
Looked like it was almost a shank.
Yeah, and they set up the picket fence. We got burned on that a game ago. And here it is all over. Deja vu all over again. So we have momentum. We get the interception. We go 3 and out. We punt, or I think it was a 5-play out. We punt, and boom.
Man, reversing the field is always tough. Whenever a punter can reverse
that was weak sauce. But he did turn him into the inside where there's help. Akeem-Davis Gaether pushes him out of bounds. Next up.
All right. Next up. Off the punt return, Jaguars set up 3rd and 6 inside the 10. Not quite 3rd and goal. Yeah. You still have to defend for the first down.
This is why you trade at the deadline for a guy who can be a difference maker for you. Unlike the Cardinals, who did nothing, the Jags traded for Jacoby Myers, and Jacoby Myers was a huge factor in this game. Now, here's my issue. We get great pressure right in Lawrence's face. Good exotic blitz. But Gaether Clark gets caught stuck behind and then gets outmaneuvered and then loses leverage and gets walled off right there.
It's just blown coverage again.
I mean, that's just what you prefer to do is get in on Myers earlier because you're blitzing. Get physical with him earlier. This cushion's not going to help you. Plus, you don't want to be fiddling around at the goal line and getting turned around and then walled off. And unfortunately, this is a pretty easy pitch and catch.
Here, to your point, I'm just for people watching, I'm going to run this again. Just watch Gaether Clark the whole time. I'm going to run this replay. Just watch number 13 right at the top of your screen here.
Right. Now, if he was looking back at the ball, this could have been another interception. But instead, he let Myers play him, turn him, and wall him.
Well, the other thing about this is they know that they're blitzing, so they'll have only a certain amount of time. But all Myers has to do here is just go out, and you've got a completion. He could go to the back pylon, and you've got a completion, or he can do what he does there, cuts back.
Right.
You've got it over the middle. Now, it's a timing route, so they were going there the whole time. But they could have done either of those and probably would have had a completion.
Right. Disappointing. The strange thing is, where's Max Melton? A healthy Max Melton, who I think is your best man coverer on the team, except perhaps for a guy they don't even play in Elijah Jones. And with Will Johnson out another week, and Max Melton is healthy, and I think he only got 15 snaps in this game. What is going on? I mean, I like Gaether Clark. I like him as a slot corner where he can play physical and use leverage. Using him in a cushion role on the end zone is just flat out wrong.
Yeah.
It's just poor coaching. Asking him to do that and I'm going to play cushion on Jacoby Myers in a key goal line situation doesn't make sense. So,
You've seen it all season.
Yeah, some of the decision making on personnel is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And all this. The other thing that's driving me nuts is dropping like Ojulari and Sweat into pass coverages that never frickin' work. Never. We just get exposed every single time when we do that. And you're taking two of your best pass rushers and not rushing them. So that drives me nuts too. But what doesn't drive me nuts, 4 turnovers And on this game, the Cardinals started to really be playmakers in their zones for one of the first times this year, like amazingly. This is the Davis Gaether interception. This is a beauty. So he reads the eyes of the quarterback perfectly and then reacts on a dime. He sees Lawrence is not looking to the inside. Now, this is how you're taught. You're taught to double back. Beautiful. This kid has potential, but he's wildly inconsistent. But our linebackers do tend to get better as the game goes on, which is a good thing. Cody Simon in second halves has been a baller. And Akeem-Davis Gaether in this case really helped us. All right, here's the next play.
All right. This is going to the left. Budda.
Yeah. Now we get it with Budda. What a just spectacular interception from Budda on this. Again, they're reading the Lawrence like a book and breaking on the throw. And this is Budda's best spot in the defense, right around the middle in the intermediate areas in coverage. This is where he is best. Put him more out in space. That's not his game for coverage. And so they lined him up perfectly. He read the eyes of the quarterback perfectly, and he jumped the route perfectly. And he sticky hands, great interception. Boy, at this point, I was feeling really good. And felt like if we could, make some plays on offense, we could take this thing.
See, they kind of lucked out too, because you can kind of watch right here. Budda's trying to pass off. I think that's Jakobi Meyers.
Yeah.
And he beats him up the middle. Lawrence just doesn't have time because he's got sweat coming up the middle.
Yeah, yes, great point. And this was one of the worst pass rushes of the game. Cardinals got stuck in mud. Sweat giving up contain. I don't know what he was doing there. Maybe it's a tackle end exchange where the tackle's just getting pushed way back. I don't know. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, see, sorry, I went past it a little bit. But right here, he's kind of pointing here. So Simon is supposed to drop in there. Simon's a little late. So he could have just gone right over the middle there to Meyers. But fortunately, Budda jumped the route he was trying to throw.
Yeah, and while we're talking pass rushes, the irony. Who was the best pass rusher in this game? And it wasn't on the Cardinals.
Be Mr. Josh Hines, Allen.
Well, yeah, he was good, but I thought Gardecki made huge plays at key times. Had the first sack on a key third down play and forced a punt. Why can't we get guys like that? It's just weird to me that they would ever let Gardeck leave that building. Talk about culture guys that show up at 6 a.m. every day, work their ass off. He was your leading sacker last 2 years, or last year. I mean, leading pressure guy. I mean, how do you, and coming off an injury, he's not going to be that expensive. How do you just move off from a guy like that? Again, you're talking about Cardinals building a culture of ballers.
It's another example of poor player evaluation by this coaching staff.
Yeah.
In my mind, Gaether Clark is forced to play the outside when everybody with eyes knows he can't.
Well, not like that. Not in press, he'd be better off, but not in cushion. And in my mind, I rate Gardecki as a Cardinal right up there with Pat Tillman, a core guy who gives you his all, who will make his presence felt on special teams as a special team dynamo, the way Budda did when he came in, the way Pat Tillman did when he came in. And now it just pains me to see him playing for the Jaguars when he should be in Cardinal red. And thank goodness we're finally wearing red again at home. So, too bad. All right, what's up next?
All right, next up, let's go with a little torture chamber time.
Terrific play.
Oh, going nuts on this.
Little slant over the middle.
Beautiful.
Perfectly
one, beat
done.
two.
Yep. What'd you like about that, Sam?
Well, he totally toasted the initial coverage.
Right.
The defender, and then he shot right past the second defender.
Right.
There's a guy who knows how to make a play when he's given the opportunity. He does it almost every game.
And the weird thing about Dortch in this game were all the negative plays to him.
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't scheme him up better. Like, this is the kind of throw that should be made several times a game. Particularly when his man loses inside leverage. And Dortch knew he had him beat, and Dortch knew exactly what to do to split the safety. This kid is a nifty Cardinal. Love him. I rank him right up there with the special team guys I mentioned, who can be huge contributors in roles on their side of the ball.
So the other nice thing that's great about this play is you can kind of see it at the top here, but I think this is Wilson. I couldn't see the jersey number, but Wilson's route draws that safety.
Correct.
McBride's bringing them down. So now that safety's going there.
Right.
This safety's going to McBride.
Yep.
And great route running by everyone sets up the opening in the middle because the safeties are going the other way.
Right. And these are the kind of quick passes that Jacoby needs in order to back off these pass rushes. You know, take a page out of the Seahawks book with Sam Darnold. Darnold is also a sitting duck back there. But they counter it by, you know, this guy, Dortch, can be our Jackson Smith-Njigba. And has it in him. I mean, maybe not. I mean, Jackson Smith-Njigba is all world right now.
Special player.
But we got a guy, and maybe Michael Wilson is our Jackson Smith-Njigba because he's all world right now. In the last two games, just unbelievable. Over 300 yards in 2 games. I mean, Wilson. Tremendous. I mean, let me ask you guys this: who's the best wide receiver on this team?
Well, this is the funny thing about it is that, like, I watched Ohio State and Marvin Harrison was the best receiver on those Ohio State teams that had Jackson Smith-Njigba. So it's crazy to me that we're having the conversation that Marvin isn't your go-to number one guy because I've seen him be the number one on a team that had Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Although JSN has always been way more versatile than Marvin, less one-dimensional than Marvin.
Yeah,
I mean, and in college, you know, against certain covers, Marvin was bound to be dominant. In the NFL, you know, as I said going in, and if you watch the tape, the college tape, you knew like how Notre Dame took him away. Marvin, and you know that getting open in the NFL is going to be a little more of a challenge, and perhaps a lot more of a challenge, and then having to deal with brackets, which he'd been getting. But now I don't think you can bracket. If anyone you're going to bracket, it's Wilson. Well, it's McBride first, then Wilson, and now this may open up some doors for you know, Marvin when he gets back, which will be fun to watch. But here's the thing about Wilson. Wilson is more versatile than Marvin. And he's a better route runner.
Much better
than Marvin. And I'd say he has better hands from what we've seen in Marvin early on. Marvin has great hands, don't get me wrong, but he's had some key drops. Wilson, we don't see him drop a ball very often. He's sure-handed, tucks it in. And Wilson's a better rack guy. So,
certainly, yeah. And of course, all of this is based on the fact that like McBride is the best tight end receiving in the NFL right now. And so all these game plans are built around him, right? McBride is the special player in the receiving core.
He's the alpha. But Alpha Mini is M. Willie. I mean, he's become an alpha, but loved the way that the NBC broadcasters highlighted how Brissett gives M. Willie tape of other receivers.
That was great
to study, and says, "Here's what we're gonna do," just similar to that. This is Matthew Stafford-esque. This is how Stafford gets his receivers.
That's right.
And there's this communication and this timing up, the syncing up of the minds and of the patterns and everything. And I was telling my pal Trish when we were watching the game, I said, all these short passes to M. Willie, just wait. When the moment's right, you're going to get a double move, and he's going to win on, and it's going to be a huge play. And boy, did they pick the perfect day. We're going to get there in a second, but perfect time to run that double move. But until we get there, what do we have next?
Next up, all right, so we just went through Dortch, which means now we've got little Parker Washington, the guy you said nobody knew about. Parker Washington coming through for the Jaguars here.
Credit Lawrence for stepping up into the pocket on this play. This is what good quarterbacks do. They work the pocket. That was Tom Brady-esque. Felt the pressure coming to his right. Did a little, crow hop. Whoop, whoop, right there. Crow hop, set the feet, and throw an absolute dot. Too bad we didn't get our hands up on that one sooner.
That was a beautiful pass.
Right.
Beautiful.
Right.
And you again got guys stuck in no man's land on defense.
Yeah.
Which
Garrett Williams just a step slow.
Yeah. He's trying to improve his man cover. He's zone cover, he's brilliant. Man cover, he's average right now. Now, don't underestimate the character of Garrett Williams or his work ethic. As long as he's healthy and working, these are things that can improve. The only thing is about him is he's not particularly twitchy as an athlete, and he doesn't flip his hips. That's why he ended up in a third round as quickly as you'd want in man coverage. You have to have the feet and the hips. But here's the thing: you don't have to be twitchy and all that if you know how to play leverage and know how to run fundamental trail techniques. I mean, like he kind of did on the interception, he was in the range to make a play. And as long as he stays tight in those ranges, he can make plays because he's got ball skills galore. And so I'm really high on the guy. But this has been a transition year for him. He's made some good plays in man and some not so good plays in man. And this one he got stuck on, and unfortunately we've now given back the lead to the Jaguars late, and it's now getting in the fourth quarter. What's up next?
Well, next up, we've got a 4th down stop for the Cardinals. Right.
Oh, yeah. This was wild.
So this is 4th, just for refreshing. This was 4th down. If the Jaguars pick up the first, the game is over.
Correct.
Because then they'd be able to kneel out the clock. And it's 24-21 at this point.
Right. Timeout. Right away, I don't like what I'm seeing. Why is Denzel Burke so far off? Right?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like Thompson's not sure. You know, he's like going, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now you got a motion man. How are they going to react to that? Terrible. It's terrible. I'm sorry. And look at how wide open he is.
You're talking about Tim Patrick?
And yeah, Tim Patrick.
Oh, well, he was running a clear out route.
Yeah, he's running a wheel route.
Yeah, he never thought Lawrence was going to throw him the ball.
No one adjusts to him.
No.
Where is Burke going? What the frick?
That was a touchdown.
You know, and if you notice, again, the Cardinals getting burned on their blitz packages, they're still zoning them on the backside.
Yeah.
They're still zoning them. I mean, you got these great blitz packages, but then you just give it away because guys are wide open in your freaking soft zones. I mean, this is inexcusable with the game on the line. It's like, look at this guy, you know, and then you're dropping sweat into coverage, into no man's land where he's a total non-factor. So don't give me this Nick Rallis is a genius bullshit.
Right.
This is awful. Yeah. And man, they got away with it. They got away with it. The game should have been over then. It should have been a touchdown. And then we're just just licking our wounds because they didn't deserve to get burned on that play. Why Tim Patrick didn't turn around on the wheel, which you're taught to do, is bizarre. Because he had to feel he was wide up. I mean, there's nobody even within 10 yards of him. Okay. Now interestingly, we go 4 and out, right? Well, I like the call. I didn't like punting it back to him, even though we had the full array of timeouts. I commend Jonathan Gannon there for just saying, you know what? We got to make this first down. We can't risk, plus I'm going to have to use all 3 timeouts and they'll punt it back. We'll have no timeouts left. I thought he calculated that properly. But unfortunately, we didn't convert. But then after that 4th down, and that was the missed 4th down on their case. So it was back-to-back 4 and outs. I'm still kind of curious about why Liam Cohen went for it without kicking the field goal with his masterful field goal kicker.
That was ridiculous.
I think for him and the way their defense was playing, going up 6 and forcing the Cardinals to, come out of there with no timeouts left to go the whole field for a touchdown, I think was probably it was a better move, but credit him. He said, I'm going to go win this game. And he had the play to do it. Perfect play. Caught the Cardinals napping, playing super soft. Whatever they do under pressure, they just wilt. And, but
yeah, I really like the decision. It's kind of like the, what's it called? It's the decision they made against the Niners. Now, obviously it didn't work out, but it's like, if you get the first down, you win the game.
You win the game. Get it now. I totally get that. And he had the play dialed up to do it. And unfortunately, his guy didn't, turn around and look for the football. And the Cardinals dodged a huge, bullet there.
Yeah, I thought it was a terrible call.
Yeah.
That was a terrible call.
I thought for momentum of the game, too, they had it. And if they kick the field goal there, going to be tough. But
and the Cardinals have to score a touchdown. This is a terrible decision,
right?
But a touchdown, you lose the game in that situation. Versus this, a field goal, you still have overtime.
And then I'm thinking hypocritical me, because last year in Minnesota, I was like 4th and 3. Now this is different, 4th and 3 than 4th and longer, but their scenario wasn't that long in the Jaguars. And I was like, we had the momentum in the game, but you're kicking the ball back to, a really good offense with Justin Jefferson, and you're going up by 6 with 2 minutes left, and they have timeouts left. I was just like, go for it on 4th and 3. Try to win this game now, because you've been leaving the whole game, and who knows what might have happened. But so I can't completely criticize Liam Cohen. In fact, I have to really praise him for his cojones there, and he had the play dialed up to get it done. So win-win there, but unfortunately it didn't get done. And now, the Cardinals saved this double move for the perfect time in the game.
Sure, we'll have lots of thoughts about this.
Yep. Willie fakes the dig route and then busts it wide. Now, lots been made about him spinning the ball. It didn't really cost them there. What cost the Cardinals is not spiking the ball,
right,
and getting set quick enough.
Right. I couldn't believe it. Could not believe that they tried to run a play off that.
Same with the announcers calling the game.
You might have gotten 2 shots at the end zone.
Right.
You might have gotten 3. I mean, look, let's see.
Right.
I mean, no harm, no foul on that. But by the time they're ready to go up, it is, let's see, right there. If you snap it, if you're ready there and just go into spike formation, there's 17 seconds left.
Look at McBride taking his sweet old time. I mean, come on, Trey. I mean, and they're calling out the play. Look at McBride, still's not set up.
Yeah.
Neither is Wilson.
Yep.
Neither is Dortch.
So if you spike the ball there, let's say 15 seconds left.
Right.
You can run one play to the end zone. Maybe you draw a penalty on it, so then you get 1st and goal. Then you get potentially 3 shots at it. But you're right, 2 shots at the end zone with 15 seconds left to play. I just realized people can't see the clock, so I'm going to put that down there.
And they have to be quick shots, because you have no timeouts. If you get sacked here, the game's over. So I get the understanding of, like, let's go quickly, try to catch them off guard. But this was too disorganized and too chaotic to do that. Much better to just get on. Everyone should have run down into their spots. This is where situational football is lost on these inexperienced Cardinals coaches.
100%.
It's absolutely lost. Like, if this were a Shanahan team, they would have snapped it already.
Right.
If it was a McVay team, they would have snapped it already. They would have downed it.
With everyone on the same page.
Same thing with Baker Mayfield, who we're going to play next week. The Bucs would be already in the huddle planning out their next play.
Or if you just call out spike formation, it doesn't matter where guys are. Just get to the line and don't be offsides.
You're supposed to be taught that way.
So I'm just going back now. Ref puts the ball down. There's 18 on the clock. So as soon as ref puts the ball down,
we should have been in position. Right.
Yeah. And by the way, when ref puts the ball down, there's 2 Jaguars who are offsides also. So then you're moving forward to 1st and 5 at the 6 or something like that.
Great point. They were taking their sweet time.
So if you run the spike formation at 17 seconds, let's say Jaguars get called for offsides on that play. So if Jaguars get called for offsides, move it up to the 6.
Right.
17 seconds, I guess it would be 1st and 5. Or yeah, because you wouldn't, the spike wouldn't count. It would be 5-yard penalty. So you'd have 3 shots at the end zone from the 6-yard line with 17 seconds left. You could run 3 plays and still kick the field goal.
And I'll just make one more point here, philosophically. If you don't have the urgency to stop the clock here and take shots to win the game, how can the coaches say, oh, at the end of the game, we're passing to win the game? Why didn't it apply to this situation, which is even better than throwing the long bomb at the end of the game and saying, oh, good, we had, we're trying to throw to win the game. Right? I mean, I don't think you can say both. Although we're gonna get to that last play, and I've got some thoughts about that. I'm sure you all do. But all right, so let's just see a made field goal by Chad Ryland.
Sure. So after that play, they end up kicking the field goal anyways. Here you go.
Pure. Right at the Z. I was breathing a collective sigh of relief. Let's go to OT.
Well, all we've got from overtime is our final play of the game.
Well, let me just say first, again, the Washington kid burned us for like a 25-yard pass play in overtime. We didn't get a good cover on him again. And we were able to stop him, and so that's good, and held him to a field goal. Now we got the ball and a chance to win, and we're getting the ball up to midfield, and now it's wasn't it a third down?
No, this was fourth down.
It's a fourth down. Correct.
4th and 4.
4th and 4. That's right.
With Dortch.
Right. Here's the problem with this play. All right, is that Weaver wins the route up top. Okay, first of all, he's not one of your go-to guys yet.
Nope.
And I get that. And that's where this is a little risky. If you're asking a guy who hasn't done much of this, hasn't played much, to win you a game, getting over the top. Now, here's the thing. As soon as he was over the top is when the ball should have been thrown. You can't, Jacoby, unfortunately, not only underthrows it, but puts too much air on it and gives Wingard, who made a great play from across the field as a safety, a chance to double team this. So it's a play you'd have to work on better in practice. I don't know how much they worked on it in practice. And also, I'm not sure it's a play you want to run as a post. You're probably better off running it as a go. You don't want to, throw it into an area where the safety can get to it, is my point. But it's a ball on long throws. People don't realize they got to come out early. The more you wait in the pros on a long throw, you're going to attract. The athletes are too good on the back end, too fast. They're going to.
To your point, Walter, I'm switching the angle here so you can see it from the main feed right here. So,
right.
Jacoby's still got time.
It's a moon ball.
Again, you shouldn't throw short of the sticks on 4th down, but Dortch, I can't tell who that is. Both open short of the sticks, but you think they've got enough space there where if you throw it in there, they can run and pick up the first down.
I like Dortch's chances one-on-one there.
Yes. That's the smart play call. McBride, Dortch, or Wilson.
Yeah.
I think this is Bam Knight, actually. I wasn't sure. I mean, again, it's not ideal to throw short of the sticks.
Right. Yep.
Maybe that's Carter. I can't. Whichever running back that is, it's not ideal, but you have enough space because the Jaguars are playing back that you think they'll be able to get there.
Right.
Because this is the closest defender.
Look at how they defend McBride on this play. That's what makes the over-the-top open. McBride's coming. They get him under with the linebacker, under again with a linebacker, and over with a safety. They triple team him.
Yeah,
Anthony Campanile made some great calls for the Jaguars. He's in his first year as an NFL DC. He's so much ahead of the curve than Rallis. Way ahead of the curve than Rallis, unfortunately. I mean, in terms of these key situations where, I mean, they've won 7 games. And it's not like, and they have really good athletes on defense. And he takes advantage of their athleticism. I mean, they're not a juggernaut defense yet, but they have the pieces to be really good, especially when they get Javon Walker back. But they've made timely plays in big spots for them to win 7 games, and they did in this game. Not giving up the middle to McBride they keyed on it and got away with it. And the Cardinals did have an opening over the top. Jacoby saw that. It's just that he reacted too late and then threw a moon ball, which gave, the when you have pro athletes on the back end who are fast, both of them were able to get to the ball and before Weaver. And there it was. So, at the end of the day, you have to respect the Cardinals' effort in this game. Situationally, it's still an issue for them. They did come back and tie the game to send it to OT. That was good. They did get away with, an awful coverage call on a 4th down that could have lost the game for them right there. But they hung in there. They were resilient. And Jacoby, what I love about him is he's relentless. They'll just keep coming and coming and coming. The sacks are a problem. That's why his QBR is so low.
Yeah. And
the negative plays are a problem. But passing downfield, Kyle, could you put up the graphic that I have about what's astonishing is wait till you see this graphic. I mean, there's no doubt after these 6 games by Jacoby who the better passer is. I mean, Cardinals passing. Go ahead, Kyle. Run us through.
All right. So the first part is 2025 Arizona Cardinals passing yards versus opponents. Week 1, Spencer Rattler, 214 to Kyler, 163. Week 2, Bryce Young, 328 to Kyler Murray, 220. Week 3, Mac Jones, over 100 more than Kyler. Week 4, Sam Darnold, 242, Kyler, 200. Week 5, Cam Ward, 265, Kyler, 220. So that's 5 weeks that Kyler was outthrown. Week 6, Jacoby Brissett, 320, Daniel Jones, 212. Week 7, Jacoby Brissett, 100 more than Jordan Love. Week 8, Jacoby, 261, Dak Prescott, 250. Week 9, Jacoby Brissett, 258, Sam Darnold, 178. Week 10, Jacoby, 452, Brock Purdy, 200. In week 11, Brissett, 317, Trevor Lawrence, 256. So that is 6 weeks out of 6. Jacoby Brissett is out throwing whoever the opposing quarterback is.
And every one of those games was close except the 2, weeks 9 and 10. But it gives Joe. I'm not going to make excuses for trying hard for 60 minutes. Never. And it doesn't get mitigated. That's why Jacoby is relentless. He just wants to, push the ball down the field as often as he can. And I really appreciate that about him. And he said this week he always fashions himself as a starter, put on the tape. And I agree with him. I think he is a starter in this league. I think you've got to, give him the goods to go with, you got to, like with every player, you got to disguise their weaknesses, which is, is being sack prone. Now, the amazing thing is he's not turnover prone. I mean, he's really great when it comes to that. And so he protects the football really well. I mean, look at all this passing, and he only has he has 11 TDs and 3 interceptions. Whereas in Kyler's run, he had 6 TDs and 3 interceptions. The sacks, and it would surprise me that the sacks, it's 24 for Brissett, which is a lot. But it was also 16 for Kyler.
Too many. And then if you add the hits in, it's really a quarterback under siege.
Yeah, and I was so pissed that they didn't call, unnecessary roughing when the Jags guy just actually plastered Jacoby, who was, clearly running out of bounds. I mean, he's not going to reverse. You could technically say I thought he was straddling the line. One foot was over the line. But anyway, he bounced back from that. The other thing was, we send in Slovis. And again, every time a Petzing second string quarterback comes in, it's like, give up. They won't let him throw downfield. Both times Slovis has come in, he's thrown a 1-yard pass to his left. That's it. With Cliff, it was always different. With Cliff, quarterbacks were lined up, queued up, ready to go, no matter who they were. He had them in sync to go in and play. I mean, in Cliff's last year, one of the most amazing things I ever saw was over the course of down the stretch, he had fourth quarter leads with 4 different quarterbacks. With Kyler one game, with McCoy one game, with David Blau one game, and with even Trace McSorley outplaying Tom Brady for 3.5 quarters. That was in my mind one of the greatest displays of coaching quarterbacks I have ever seen. Because you wouldn't expect it. In a Petzing offense, only one quarterback gets to throw downfield. I mean, even when Jacoby came in early in the Titans game, he did the same thing. He wouldn't have Jacoby throw downfield. You got to prepare quarterbacks to play, baby. And, we got a quarterback problem with the coaches. We just do. It's got to. That's why I'm hoping for changes across the board. I think Petzing has a lot of potential, but I think his inexperience, particularly in situations, he tends to get conservative, and I think that to a fault.
He's conservative until he's got 4th and 4, and then he's aggressive. How do you reconcile that?
Well, I think Jacoby saw that, and Jacoby had other options on the play. I think he was worried about getting sacked and at that point. But it was part of the play design. I mean, obviously he was looking at that. It was part of the play design. I mean, it was just kind of uncharacteristic in a way. In a situation where you'd like to see them be more high percentage. I mean, taking a deep shot downfield is the percentages on completing that versus something shorter are astronomically different, and so on one hand, because that's a play that actually they could have won on, I kind of want to give them credit, but then on the other way, the way they executed it, it was just too late of a throw and too high. of a throw. And unfortunately, it was left right there. And this is what they've got to figure out, is how are we going to close out games on both sides of the ball? Cardinals offense got them the lead in the fourth quarter. The defense gave it right back, which has been a pattern, right? And then in the tricky, scenarios in overtime, the Jaguars handled it much better than the Cardinals did, and they deserve to win as a result of it. So now that we're talking about, making changes, this is the moment I've been waiting for, is we're going to go to Sam. He's got an off-season plan. Buckle your seatbelts, baby, because it's going to be a great ride. Watch this.
Well, this was a fun exercise, but I have to acknowledge it's almost fantasy, and it's certainly wishful, because I don't think any of it is going to happen. And it's probably, I also have to acknowledge it's too early to speculate on what changes will be mandated and which can be made, because it's just too early given all the coaching and GM options that are not on the table yet. I think there are going to be a lot of changes and a lot of options by the end of the season. So here's my too soon for reality and too good for reality scenario to fix the Cardinals this offseason. What needs to happen to this franchise this offseason is there needs to be a complete house cleaning. Coaches and front office people need to go. This team has regressed in wins, player development, schemes are poor, game decisions are not responsive, and the front office, I can give them a pass on draft mistakes. I can't give this front office a pass on coaching decisions.
Correct. Yep.
And the biggest reason to get rid of them, and maybe there's some growth there, maybe we can be patient, but this coaching staff and front office's biggest problem and reason to remove them all is that their division foes are too damn successful. Right. They're winning dominant, aggressive franchises with execs and coaches to match, and we need the same to compete. We are not competitive in the division, and it isn't because of talent. So who's going to recruit, attract, and hire the new regime? Unfortunately for us, and unfortunately for this franchise, the same guy who has never recruited and hired top talent that he can't attract is making decisions. No one with any bright, hopeful NFL future will work for Michael Bidwell. He's proven too many times he doesn't have the football nor business savvy, football connections to consistently improve this franchise to compete in the division. Bidwell needs to remove himself completely from all football and all football-related decisions and activities. He must hire a president of football operations and at the press conference, make it clear to the world he is stepping aside. So who is that person who, with the stature to turn around a dysfunctional 100-plus year losing franchise? Bill Polian's too old. Bobby Beathard, unfortunately, is no longer with us. And Ozzie Newsome isn't coming to work for Mike Bidwell. And those are execs that have multiple successes, the experience, contacts, and stature to change the perception and the ideology of this franchise. Walt Hallaby's suggestion is fantastic. And he may have the football chops to make football decisions. And he probably also has the stature to usher Bidwell out of the building. But he and every other quality candidate will still be stuck with Bidwell's lack of financial ability to turn things around consistently and long term. Short of selling the team, he needs to sell a minority interest in the ownership of the team, and he must completely give a commitment of hands off. The team's operating income at $51 million, it's last in the league. And Bidwell's, as of September last month, placed Bidwell's net worth was 29th out of 32, and his wealth is tied entirely to the value of the franchise. Sports analysts, NFL industry execs have described the Bidwell family and organization as cash poor relative to the league's most liquid owners. They just don't have the readily available liquid cash to fund multiple guaranteed contracts. Without that, you don't have the ability to compete with teams who can comfortably fund those guarantees. Well, enter the first family of football, first family of the NFL. That's the Manning Family Trust. Peyton, Archie, and Eli. They've expressed a keen interest in being involved in an ownership of an NFL team. They are probably the most well-connected football people in the game. They have across-the-board connections with owners, execs, coaches, and players. Bidwell needs to sell them 5-10% of the franchise like Brady purchased at the Raiders, and use their connections, football intellect, and league loyalties to find a president of football operations who will have soup to nuts ability to compete and total control of everything related to the football product. There's my fantasy answer when this team is now 3-8.
So which Manning are you making?
The Family Manning Trust, and the way that trust is set up with respect to football opportunities, Peyton will take the lead.
I'm just writing this down. I want it in print. First of all, total kudos to you for that just eloquent articulation of what the issues are for the Cardinals in terms of leadership. And I just got totally enthused by your fantasy answer. And do I think it's completely out of the realm? I don't. But it was, you were right to say that it would be contingent on and hinging on the giving of ownership shares to the Manning Trust, and then appointing Peyton. I mean, I think we couldn't get Peyton to even come for an interview when your Broncos grabbed him, but I think in a scenario like this, or even Eli, I mean, I would be head over heels for Eli. He's a bright guy. They're smart. And they're, like you said, the connections are enormous. I'm really excited about that. So given that, who do you think Peyton Manning would hire as a head coach?
Well, I don't see any of them serving as the president of football operations. I think they're going to hire that person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. I think they're going to hire that person. And if they hire that person, I love Hallaby.
Right.
I think the guy who is I can't remember his name, who's the de facto GM for the Cowboys. He's been there for a long time. Yep. He would be a good option. But I think the Mannings, listen, Mike Bidwell makes decisions as an NFL outsider. He's a terrific citizen for the NFL. He'll do whatever he's told. But let's face it, since Andy Reid dumped who's that quarterback on us back in the day?
Kevin Kolb.
Yeah, Kevin Cobb. We're the punching bag for the NFL. We're the team that goes. They're going to go steal Greg Dortch from us. They went and stole Zach Allen from us. They went and stole Byron Murphy from us. So nobody wants to be here. Nobody wants to play here. No good coach would coach here. So we need somebody to completely turn that around, give this franchise some credibility, some long-term credibility, and no more neophytes, no more Monty Ossenford that's never built a franchise, no more Jonathan Gannon who's never been a head coach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's get the guy in here who the Mannings feel has the chops and the acumen and the team building experience, and they are the ones who are going to attract him here. Mike Bidwell isn't going to attract that kind of talent here.
Right.
So you carve the Mannings in and you let them make decisions. And I think there'll be better decisions. And I think it'll be healthier for the franchise.
Love it. Super. And I just love your presentation. The whole thing is awesome.
Thank you.
And I'd like a copy of it if you have that.
I'll clean up the spelling and send it over to you.
Thank you. I could care less about the spelling. It was just so well put together and so cogent and insightful and right on the money. It brings hope because there are facets of possibility in that. There really are. It's not anytime you give someone control, there's hope. If it's like a quid pro quo, no, I still do this, it's never going to happen. That's why you can't get a Dan Quinn in here. You can't get a Brian Flores in here. Right. You can't get anyone with good experience. They're not going to accept a bidwillian quid pro quo because they never frickin' work.
Right.
And everybody knows it. So now, Sam, we're going to let you go. I know you have a busy schedule today and meetings. So thank you so much. We're going to get to Kyle's next. But do you have anything else to say before you go?
Well, on to Tampa Bay.
Yep. And Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
Look out.
Yeah.
And they're hungry after they got spanked.
They really need
by those Rammies yesterday. Oh, my God.
And going clear across country playing an early game is tough.
It is. And, that environment and with a team that's, sort of clinging. They're tied with Carolina now for the division lead at 6-5. That's fascinating, Yeah. And Carolina plays tonight, right?
Yes.
Yes, so they're playing Niners.
Yeah, 49ers. So that'll be interesting to peek in on that. But yes, Sam, thanks so much.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Look forward to it.
All right.
Go Cards.
All right. Take care.
Bye now.
All right, now we're shifting over to Kyle. Kyle's history of this is, he swings for the fences with all of his baseball background. This was his forte, and he was a really good baseball player. And his brother, and San Diego.
My brother was a better baseball player than me. Let the record show. He was an all-city pitcher, and I was a decent shortstop.
See, but it's in your blood, and you know what it's like to swing for the fences. So let's hear your off-season plan.
All right. So, we can reference back to this later on as well, but obviously Sam kind of hit the nail on the head with the biggest thing that probably needs to change is your upper management from the top on down, right? The Broncos, for example, during the years when Pat Bowlen was dealing with Alzheimer's and they didn't really have much of a contingency plan, the organization just felt kind of lost. And John Elway was essentially running the franchise, and John Elway didn't have the requisite experience to run a franchise, and it just felt like they were just stuck in the mud kind of year after year. But you change it from the top, and everything kind of shifts down from there, right? The Broncos look like one of the model organizations. So while I agree with Sam's point that it kind of starts from the top on down, no indications coming in that Bidwell is interested in putting any part of the team up for sale, hiring a president. Doesn't seem like it's in the cards, pun intended, right now. So you work with what you got, and you can see what goes from there. I think one of the silver linings for people who are in the camp of Bidwell needs to get out and you need to make changes from the top is every year when you see those report cards from the NFLPA, you know who consistently gets Fs and Ds and D minuses. it is the ownership group of the Kansas City Chiefs. Consistently, Clark Hunt and the Chiefs are at the bottom of the facilities list, of the ownership lists, spending lists. But they are always, always, always A+ when it comes to coaching staff, and always A+ when it comes to relationships within that organization. They always grade well in there. So I think that's just kind of what you can hold out hope for, of like, you can have a poor owner, but in the NFL, if you just get the infrastructures in place, those things can overcome your poor ownership group, right? You can overcome such things in the NFL, because if you get Josh Allen's your quarterback for 20 years, right? If you get Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback for 20 years. So that's always the thing to hold on to, is if you put the infrastructure in place in the NFL, you can overcome poor management from the top. Now, it won't be perfect, and you probably won't achieve your goals, but I do think, or not achieve your goals, achieve the highest levels of the sport, right? I think everything has to be in alignment from whether it's the Patriots or the Eagles, you got to have alignment from the top down in order to have success. And, you know, you can hold out hope that if the Cardinals do succeed, you know, Bidwell will take a step back and be like, you guys got this. You've proven you are competent football people. I'm not going to, you know, overstep your bounds kind of situation. But it's easier to do that with an Austin Fort and a Gannon, who probably wouldn't have been head coaches and GMs if not for the opportunity in Arizona. So at least that's a little bit of hope. If I'm going for a hire, I'm hiring exclusively from the premier organizations of the NFL of the last decade. Someone with extensive experience working in one of those organizations that has been dominating football. Because for years it used to, I remember when I was growing up, and Walter, we had these shows years ago where we talked about the NFL is a sport of parity, right? There's always new chances to go up and down and up and down. But in the last decade, that hasn't necessarily been the case. I mean, the last 5 years in the NFL, only 4 AFC franchises have made it to the AFC Championship game. Over the past 7 years, only 4 franchises have made it to the Super Bowl out of the NFC, and one of them was the Tom Brady Bucks, right? So you're looking at essentially 6 franchises that have been above and beyond over the last decade. And, you know, my plan is to kind of hire from one of those organizations.
So who's your guy?
So here is, I put this together, and you've seen this a little bit before, but here is the list of people who have extensive experiences working within the premier organizations of the NFL over the last decade. Those organizations: Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens. You can throw the Bengals in there if you want. I just kind of think Joe Burrow, kind of like I was talking about, has overcome poor ownership to lead the Bengals. And then the Rams, the Eagles, and the Niners. Those are your 6 premier organizations in the NFL over the last, we'll call it, 10 years. So here are all your candidates. I've always said for years, I have no idea what makes a good head coach or GM in the NFL. So I would bring in these candidates and go with who you believe to be the strongest of the group, right? Who you believe is the person who interviews the best, the person who gives you the best plan. Also, the nice thing about this, if you're Bidwell and you're starting from scratch, is you're essentially getting free advice from a lot of these people of how they would run your organization by bringing them all in to interview. If you know, you don't hire, say, Terrence Gray from the Bills. You could get Terrence Gray's vision of what he thinks might be best for the team, and maybe you learn a thing or two just by bringing in a bunch of candidates. So I've got 7 general manager candidates. I listed 9 head coaching candidates. There are more, but I just picked 9 that I think would interview, and they would probably want to interview if you're the Cardinals.
So if you could pick one right now, who would you want?
If I could pick one
of each. Who's your general manager?
My general manager, I think if I had to pick, I would go with either Hallaby, your guy from your plan with the Eagles, or I would go with one of the two Chiefs guys, Mike Bradway, Chris Shea.
Right.
Again, they're essentially assistant GMs because the previous assistant GM went to the Titans, I believe. So they both got promoted from executive vice presidents essentially.
Right.
So I'd go with someone from the Chiefs or with Hallaby. And then from the coaching point, I'm a big fan of Joe Brady, the Bills offensive coordinator. Now I know it's first time head coach and you're tired of the first time head coaches, but I believe Joe Brady, when you talk about what he's the upgrade they've seen on offense and finally being able to establish a run game, what he did at LSU.
Right.
I'm a big fan of Joe Brady. I think he is one of those special coordinators who can give you play calling prowess, shall we say.
Yeah, so if you go with Brady, maybe you take one of the Bills guys.
I'm not
sync that up, because the familiarity there. I like syncing stuff like that up. That's why I'm really disappointed that Monty Ossenfort didn't tab someone from the Patriots. And there were candidates from the Patriots that really could have been lined up immediately, particularly Brian Flores. But so I mean, I think if the Chiefs guys come in here, maybe they would go with Mike Kafka, who's doing a heck of a job as interim, with the Giants and getting
the Giants were great.
Big games out of Winston, Jameis Winston. So I love this setup, and I have seen it before, and I really was enamored with it. And I think it's a great menu. I gravitate towards the guys with head coaching experience. The guy that pops out to me is Salah.
Yep.
Of the 49ers. And I would, I don't want Rand Carthon. He didn't want to interview with us anyway, but I'd want someone else kind of tied into him from the 49ers who can work with him and knows what he needs. I'm still stuck on, if we don't defend McVay, Shanahan, and Kubiak, it's not going to matter. We've got to, turn the page on that. We have all this young defensive talent. It's got to be galvanized. We got to get a training staff in here that gets, kind of helps us to prevent these just onslaught and ongoing injuries. I mean, Walter Nolan suffered a knee injury yesterday, apparently. Frick, it's just, Will Johnson's been out 3 weeks and he was out 2 weeks before. I mean, this is just, we've got to do something to turn that around or have a plan to do it. I like Dayball, but, I just, there's something missing about, he's sort of like a BA, actually. He's like, he's crusty and, edgy. He's no risk it, no biscuit. He fits the BA mold. And that kind of interests me too. But I like your choice of Brady because he does bring the special thing you need, particularly if you're bringing in a new quarterback. So that makes a lot of sense to me. If you're going now, I would be curious to know what his defensive coordinator choice would be, and because that would be huge. Because, like I said, we got to take care of defense, and we can't do it with a novice. We just can't. I mean, we've got to get someone with experience. not only someone with experience there, but a veteran assistant advisor with experience.
Well, yeah, I think that's the direction you got to go because, again, I'd have to double check, but I'm almost certain Joe Brady would be the youngest head coach in the NFL if they were to hire him.
Right.
He's 36 now. He'll turn 37. So, which, by the way, if you're an organization like the Cardinals, that's the kind of swing you should probably take, right? Is to try and get a coach who will be there for 10 years, hopefully, if everything goes well and he's able to build a program. But I also understand that comes with risk, right? And especially in a division where Sean McVay is still only is Sean McVay 40 yet? Sean McVay is 39 years old. Mike McDonald is 38 years old. You're going to be going up against those guys for damn near a decade.
Right.
And that's kind of what you should hope for. But again, if it doesn't work out, then it just comes back to the same cycle as before. Saleh, again, has the head coaching experience and is still young. So I think, to your point, that's kind of getting the best of both worlds.
Exactly. Yep. So great work. This is really good planning. And I think, something we can come back to and reference throughout the rest of this season and into the offseason. I'm working on a new plan, which I'll unveil next week, and I'm switching over to offense. I want a veteran offensive head coach, seeing as, maybe we'll have a chance at one of these top 3 quarterbacks in the first round of the draft. Being, I watched Oregon play yesterday with Dante Moore, or over the weekend. Was very impressed with Dante Moore. He's in there in the mix with, of course, Ty Simpson, who I like a lot. The only thing is his lack of experience is going to be a factor. But if you put him with a Joe Brady, for example, and someone who's really savvy offensively, I like that kind of matchup. And then Fernando Mendoza, who I love this kid. Love him. I mean, I really am sky high on all 3 of them. And there's some other guys that I kind of like in other ways. So, if we can't get one of the top 3 in other rounds, I think we could take a flyer on a couple of players that I think could be sleepers at the quarterback position this year, and put them in the right hands, they might be really good. So, all that goes hand in hand, and we're going to keep working on this. Of course, when we get towards the end of the year, we'll revisit this again, and we'll see if our our thoughts have changed any. But Phoenix is reporting that Gannon's safe, which would mean his staff is safe. Gannon's not going to make any changes to the staff unless he's told to by Monty or something. I don't know. But I'm hoping that's just what you have to say right now, because you're still in the middle of a season. Nobody's going to get fired in season. But I think it's pretty clear by now we just don't have the competency as a coach, as a GM and a coaching staff. And I want to add one more thing before we go. I've been on debate on Twitter about, a lot of people are saying like the trade between the Cardinals and the Texans in 2023 draft is like a tie. The Texans got Will Anderson and Caleb Bullock out of it. Both guys had unbelievable games over the past week, and are unbelievable players. And the Cardinals got Paris Johnson out of it, and Garrett Williams, and B.J. Ojolari. but they weren't also mentioning that what the Cardinals gave up for Paris to trade up to 6. They gave up the 34th pick. I mean, that's a first rounder, almost in value. I mean, to give that up was a lot. You know, they gave up the 12th, and they gave up the 6th and the 34th pick. You know, that has to.
They get the 12 and 34 to go up to 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And 34. So Donnie Druin of Sports Illustrated was just saying, like, it's a swap, you know, it's like a trade. Everybody wins. Cardinals got their left tackle, you know. Here was my response. So is both things can be possible, that you know, the Cardinals and Texans both got studs. Will Anderson is a verified stud. Donnie said Paris Johnson Jr. is a verified stud. So here was my response. The problem with the trade was the Cardinals, with a new defensive-minded head coach, passed on Will Anderson Jr., the most dynamic, game-changing defensive player in the draft, at a time when there was no edge player on the Cardinals roster even remotely as good. And here's where Monty's decision-making went awfully awry. The Cardinals were returning their top 3 tackles in DJ Humphries, Josh Jones, and Kelvin Beachum. Their 2022 grades were 3 of the top 4 offensive grades on the entire offense. Jones leading the way at 75.8 in 9 starts, Humphries 72.3 in 8 starts, and Beachum at 70.6 in 17 starts. Despite Josh Jones outplaying DJ and every other Cardinals offensive line in virtually every category in 9 starts in the second half of the 2020 season, Kyler wanted DJ to start at left tackle. And after Beach spoke to the media about the team needing Kyler to step up as a leader, Kyler recruited Paris Johnson Jr. not to play his natural position of left tackle, but to play right tackle, where PJJ understandably struggled as a rookie, 60.1 PFF grade, while DJ had his worst year at left tackle at 62.1. That scenario was a lose-lose. Meanwhile, Will Anderson in 2023 helped Houston go from worst to first in the NFC South, and he won the 2023 NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year award. Other fallouts of the Cardinals' trades with the Texans: 1, giving up the 12, 34, and 168 picks for 6 and 81 to Detroit in order to draft PJJ. That 34 pick in particular was a huge giveaway. It's quite possible, too, that PJJ could have been on the board at number 12. Some fans pushed back on me on that. But let me tell you this. I went and looked at the top 4 most popular NFL mock drafts. Okay. And here's what I found. Was that NFL.com with Chad Reuter had PJJ going 15 to the Packers. Or, 13 to the Packers. PFF had him going 15 to the Jets. The Athletic's Dane Brugler had him going 13 to the Packers. ESPN had him going 14 to the Patriots. So, yes, it's quite possible. Now, I know they were honed in on him, but giving up as much as they did, and there were other really good players in that draft, it might have been better to wait and see if you can get him at 12. And don't get me wrong, I love PJJ. I'm glad we have him. But I can't stand the argument that, like, this was an even Steven maneuver. Not when Will Anderson Jr. is an absolute game changer. It just doesn't. I don't. yeah, I get that both players are good. I don't think, I'll I made a concession here. It's like, then saving Collins to outside linebacker, thinking he could at least somewhat compensate for the team missing out on Will Anderson Jr. Since the move to outside linebacker in 2023, Zaven has generated 79 QB pressures and 9.5 sacks since the switch. While Will Anderson at outside linebacker in Houston has amassed 192 quarterback pressures and 28.5 sacks. And this is my point. When you don't have any pass rushers, how can you pass on a guy like Will Anderson Jr.? And here's what I said. If the Cardinals had stayed in their original spots and drafted BPA, their draft could have been Will Anderson, 1, Brian Branch, 2, Byron Young, defensive end, Tennessee, 3A, Michael Wilson, 3B, wide receiver, Stanford, Dawan Jones, right tackle, Ohio State in the 4th round, Puka Nacua, they could have beaten the Rams to him. We were mocking him. We liked him in the middle rounds. Boy, we would have loved that. And then Keitrell Clark, cornerback in the 6th round. People might say all redrafts are 2020, but ask anyone at Red Rain. These were the players I and others were mocking at those spots. So it's not like I'm just looking down the list and inventing things. Now, here's a key distinction. Paris Johnson is ranked as the number 10 tackle, 80.8. He is behind 6 currently. He's behind 6 other NFC tackles. At this point, would not make this year's Pro Bowl. None of Monty's draft picks have made a Pro Bowl, and PJJ is the best bet. Will Anderson Jr. is ranked number 4 edge in the whole league at 92.2 and is in line to make first or second team All-Pro and his second Pro Bowl in 3 years. Had the Cardinals played PJJ at left tackle from the get-go, maybe he is a Pro Bowler by now. This is what how the decision-making was flawed, and is a context that still needs to be considered. The Cardinals had to suffer through 2 seasons of the worst pass rushes in NFL because they did not have a good plan to compensate for passing on Will Anderson Jr. Adding Josh Sweat this season has been superb, but the Cardinals pass rush, even with Sweat, ranks number 26, while the Texans ranks number 2. Now, while Houston and Arizona start out on even levels, they're both, like rock bottom in 2023 with new defensive-minded head coaches. Houston and Arizona are franchises that are continuing to move in opposite directions. One is a contender, while the other is a pretender. The disparities of how well and hard their defenses rush, stuff, tackle, and cover are night and day. And lastly, another fallout of the 2023 trade is with regard to Monty's breach of GM decorum when he let the taping of a privileged GM trade discussion go public, which was bound to incur the ire of NFL GMs to the point where Monty has not been able to make another first-round trade despite multiple efforts to do so. That is a stigma that may not go away as long as Monty is GM. So, my point wasn't that I don't like Paris Johnson. I love him. But my point is that, maybe, and I'm going to write about this, a better plan would have been, all right, we brought in a defensive-minded head coach. Let's get the defense figured out, first, particularly seeing as we won't see Kyler until, week 12 or something. Let's just make sure we get a great defense that the team can count on. And I would have preferred not this whole, let's just tear this whole thing down and start all over. Because there were some really good guys. I thought that we, Cameron Thomas right now is playing well. Who'd have thunk it? And he's grading well. So, stuff like that. It's just, we gave up on a lot of guys. Josh Jones. Everyone says, oh, he sucks. No, he didn't. He was the best player on offense in 2022. What sucked was Kyler didn't like him. That's what sucked. All right. And Kyler said, no, I want DJ. All right. And the problem was Jones never really was a great and didn't want to play right tackle. So, and Humphreys was fine. I mean, Kelvin was fine. He could have stayed at right tackle, but of course, no. Yeah, he was getting on, but he surprises us every year with the steadiness of his play and his leadership. So the point was that tackle wasn't the immediate need, nowhere even close. When 3 of your 4 best graded players on offense were tackles and they're all coming back, and you have no edge rushers to speak of, it's just mind-boggling. So it just bothers me that the perception is that this was some sort of still a kind of win or tie. I mean, when Will Anderson Jr. is a Pro Bowler waiting to happen, I mean, a all-pro, first or second team waiting to happen, that was fine. What do you think, Kyle?
We've talked about this before, and I did notice that it was kind of going around because people were pointing out, well, they also got Garrett Williams and this and that, but they would have gotten those either way because they already had the picks. My kind of thoughts on it are still the same. It's that the problem was not trading from 3 to 12. That was a fine strategy at the time. You got a ton of picks out of that trade from the Texans, probably an overpay on Houston's part when it came to what the picks were. But the problem was then trading back up to number 6 because you lost a lot of the value that you were going to get from that 34 pick. Like you said, the 6 pick Paris. If you're trading 2 first-round picks essentially to move up in the draft, you've got to get an all-pro caliber type of guy. And Paris is a very good left tackle, but so are who are the other tackles in that class? I'm trying to remember. There were a bunch of them that kind of went right around the same time. Was it Darnell Wright? Skoronski's more of a guard now. Broderick Jones ended up going at 14, so he would have been available at 12. So even if Paris isn't available at that point, still plenty of great players you could have gotten. Obviously, pick 34 ended up being Sam Laporta. Could have gotten him or Michael Mayer, or heck, the Rams took Steve Avila at pick 36. You could have had another offensive lineman right there. So, my kind of thoughts are just the problem was not trading down. You can justify trading from 3 to 12 when you got what you got in that trade. That could have jump started a rebuild for any team with all the picks that they got and obviously their own. But the trading back up was probably unnecessary.
Okay, we can agree to disagree. I mean, I think passing on an elite player who transforms defenses on a team that can't defend in the NFC West, it was like a colossal whiff.
Oh, no, I agree. You should stick and pick anytime you're at the top of the draft.
All right.
Well, no, I agree with that assessment, but if you're their staff and you did not believe Will Anderson was that special player that you couldn't live without, then I understand why they made the trade when they did. I remember talking about that with you at the draft time. It's like, if you believe Will Anderson is Myles Garrett, there are no amount of picks you could trade me to get that player. And they made the calculation that Will Anderson was not that special player that they couldn't live without. And, while Will Anderson is a defense changing player, and the Texans have a great defense too. It was him and Derek Stingley and all those free agents that they brought in that have built that core of that defense too. So it wasn't just the drafting of Will Anderson. They made other very good moves in addition in order to build that defense, along with DeMeco Ryans, the belle of the ball when it comes to defensive playmaking. So
Well,
I agree that if you knew Will Anderson was going to be special, you stay and pick him. There's no amount of picks you can have.
And
but
didn't the Texans know it? Look at what they
certainly
gave up. Now look at what happens here. Here's the psychology. It's like I said in the tweet. The Cardinals and Texans were rock bottom, both organizations. All right. The Texans decided to take QB of the future, but they all decided we're not using this season to tank. We're going to be competitive. We're going to try to teach this team how to win from day one. So to help us win, we'll grab the best defensive player in this draft too. So we'll get our quarterback. We'll give up a lot to get this guy, and it's like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Because not only did, the ripple effect of this was suddenly from day one, the Texans defense, and Cashman and a lot of the guys stepped up and played a great season, and they go to the playoffs and they win a playoff game. Nobody, worst to first, great scenario. Now suddenly you have this hot item head coach, defensive head coach, and DeMeco Ryans. So that's why you get a Danielle Hunter. If the Cardinals would have never gotten Danielle Hunter, even though he had ties to Gannon from way back, because you're not building it. Your team's stuck and losing, and you don't have the guys around. You don't have a Will Anderson there to sell you. Like, oh, wow, if Will's opposite me, that's going to double my sack totals. I'm not going to get his double team. It's a whole, series of, ripple effects that winning can do and showing. If you build it, if you make that investment, you bring in a star caliber player who is bought in and is like NFL Rookie of the Year, other guys are apt to want to sign up. And look at all the guys who were apt to want to sign up with the Texans on both sides of the ball. I mean, they had their picks and they were hot and they took advantage of it.
Well, I think that's the big thing with the NFL too, is like the point of the rebuilds and the point of having the bad seasons is to get those top picks. I mean, everyone is jockeying for those top picks, which is inherently why they're so valuable, right? Like my kind of thought on it is I could justify why they made the trade. Because I remember at the time people were talking about, Will Anderson versus Tyree Wilson. You could make the case for either pick at the time. But Tyree Wilson's had injuries and the Raiders have just had their own issues. But again, that's why the draft is so tough, is you've got to believe that guy is going to be special. Case in point, the Jaguars gave up the same package to go from 5 to 2 to pick Travis Hunter. And Travis Hunter, while he's going to try and play both sides of the ball, is already riddled with injuries. And if it continues on that path, then the Browns look like geniuses for moving down and taking, what's his name? The guy from Michigan. I can't remember the defensive tackle. Was it Graham? I want to say
Mason Graham.
They look like geniuses for making that move. Again, it's about, do you believe that player you're getting at that top pick is so special that there is nothing, he's your Aiden Hutchinson, he's your Myles Garrett, he's your TJ Watt. And
again, at the time I had said for 100% that Will Anderson Jr. was the best player in the draft. I made an argument he's the best player in the draft. Period. Yeah. And I still stand by that. He was the absolute best, and you could get him at 3. So, and because it was fortunate, it was a quarterback draft, and so guys are going to take quarterbacks 1, 2, which they ended up doing because of the trade and all that. But
then what you're trading off is you lose that value by moving down in the draft. But
and then giving it right back up to trade up, and I love Paris Johnson Jr., but, he's borderline excellent. He's not there yet. And I think that year at right tackle stunted his growth. It couldn't have helped. So, I don't know, but I'm glad we have a left tackle. I love his leadership. Nobody should get me wrong on this. I love the kid. I just don't love being able to say, yeah, we've made out even with the Texans getting Will Anderson and Caleb Bullock. It's not right.
Yeah, if Paris Johnson was the 12th pick in the draft, that would have been a great selection by the Cardinals.
Well, it would have been better, and then you would have had these two early third-round picks, the 33rd and 34. And that's the other thing. Is he traded out both of them.
Yeah.
And then, so the guy you traded back for is coming off knee injury. And now you're trying to compensate for losing out on Will Anderson Jr. If you ask any SEC guy to compare Will Anderson Jr. to B.J. Ojulari, they'd laugh in your face. I mean, Ojulari, the most he had in a season was, 5 sacks? I mean, he was not that productive. And, and then he had the knee injury to compound it. He probably would have lasted into the 3rd round at some point, or maybe even the 4th round. Because there was, you got the medical on him, and then they draft Garrett Williams with a knee injury. And Garrett Williams been in and out of the lineup since we got him. It's just like this kind of thinking that, here's how we're going to respond. And let's just face it, Zaven Collins is not the edge rusher. It can't even hold a comparison to Zaven Collins and Will Anderson Jr. It's just, and who's better, Will Anderson Jr. or Josh Sweat?
No, Will Anderson Jr.
I mean, and bless Josh Sweat, because if he's not doing what he's doing, nobody is. And that's the other thing about this so-called culture. It's just not clicking. I mean, we got guys that should be. Now, Jordan Burch got his first sack. He looked really good. I think he can come on. So there's some hope here. And Ojulari looks good. And maybe, now he becomes a contributor. But man, I have Will Anderson envy. And the other amazing thing that happened in that draft was how we could have also gotten Brian Branch. I mean, I would have taken Brian Branch at 12. I mean,
you could have had him at 34. Yeah.
I watched his tapes at Alabama. I was drooling. The dude never missed a tackle. He was lights out covering the slot. He was so versatile. I mean, he was a combo corner safety deluxe. And look at him now. He's one of the best players in the NFL. At a premier. Now, the slot corner safety spot has become a premier position for teams. Unlike the myths that some people are saying, no, it's not a premier position. Yes, it is. Because if you don't defend the middle of the football field, you're going to lose games. If you don't have a guy who can help defend that, and at the same time be a baller as a tackler and run support, you got it made when you got a guy like that. And some Cards fans are trying to tell me Garrett Williams just as good as Brian Branch. Go do your homework, man. I mean, come on. Watch the tapes. It's not even close. I mean, so, Garrett Williams, here's another player I love, but he's a kind of a niche player. He's not versatile. That's the problem. He's not a slot corner. They don't put it, when they play him in the, slot corner, it's in zone, typically, not in man. So, and that's one of the ways that I think they're kind of handicapping their defense is they're drafting all these zone corners. When in today's football, what did Campanale do yesterday? He said, frick it. I'm not going to let Jacoby tear apart our zones we're going to dog every receiver they have until they get tired. And that was a huge factor in the game, an adjustment that Campanile made. Anthony Campanile, keep an eye on him. He's heading places made in that game. So with that, Kyle, your parting shot.
Well, we covered a lot of ground today, but hopefully over the next couple weeks, we'll have more clarity about who's coming back and who's not. And we'll see how the rest of the season goes. Their playoff chances essentially were wiped out yesterday with the loss. It was pretty much already down to the dumps, but now it's about 2%. So we'll see what the offseason has in store. And yeah, thanks to everybody who keeps supporting. Numbers are doing fantastic, even in these trying times for the Cardinals. So always much appreciated.
Thanks, Kyle. And I really loved your presentation. You're so thorough. I want to appoint you GM myself. You're the GM of Red Rain. You are. You are the GM.
As long as I'm not making personnel decisions, it's fine.
You know, and I'm starting to think maybe you ought to be vice president, but you're certainly the GM. Yeah, I think I might promote you to vice president and put Sam in at GM with Eli, man. With
the Mannings, all the Mannings.
We got the Mannings in here today. Credit to Sam. God, I love that guy. And to Little Rock, he's our right-hand man here. He's the wizard behind the screen, guys. He's the one that gets shit done. And really, again, I'll reiterate what Kyle just said. We're really happy with the number of views we're getting and comments, and let us know what you like, what things you want us to do better. I know I got advice that you really like the film analysis that we do, the tapes of the top plays. We're trying to give that to you, give you insights on those, and from a football perspective. So keep the comments coming. And in the interim, may the red rain of victory confetti shower down on you into the red sea. Red rain.